Assalamu alaikum, my dear beloved brothers and sisters, and welcome to another episode in our series, Stories of Kings. In today's episode, there was a king that had twins, Prince Saad and Prince Musa'ad, two sons, Saad and Musa'ad. And he felt that his time is getting closer and that he had to make one of them to be the king after him. He had to name one of them. Do I name Saad or Musa'ad? So he had a very wise minister. He said, my minister, I have two sons. I don't know which one of those twins to make the minister after me. He said, well, I have an idea. Usually, to be a king, you're a guardian. You're protecting your kingdom. And so today, make them part of the king's special forces. He said, what do you mean? As you have with the president, the Secret Service. He said, in front of your room, have one of them hold the sword for one day. And then the next day, the other one would hold the sword. Basically, the person's job is to make sure that nobody walks into the quarters of the king, the room and that area where the king is, that overnight, nobody walks in. You stop anybody that thinks of going in. Rule number two is even you as a guard are not allowed to walk one step. There's the entrance. You don't think. It's not about the king as his father or not. But is that as that servant, as that guardian, nobody's supposed to step in, including yourself. If anybody walks in, the king did not call their name or invite them, even if you, the guard, walk in, that's considered one of the biggest crimes against the country, and you're supposed to be beheaded and killed immediately. So he said, let's see if any intruder comes, if anything happens, and how they're going to stand, and if they're going to stand protecting. So in the first night, the king told his son Saad, you're going to be part of my special forces. Your job is to guard the door, as he knows, and make sure nobody walks in, including yourself, because that's considered the biggest betrayal to the country and the nation. And it's your job tonight. The king wakes up late at night and noticed that his son was like not too far from where his bed was and was running out of the room, which is the biggest betrayal, that he walked into the king's quarters instead of protecting it. Anything could have happened. So immediately he went to the minister without his son knowing and said, my minister, I woke up in the middle of the night and I saw my son Saad running out of my room, invading my privacy. He said, then your son could not be trusted, my king. I'm sorry to tell you that. So I have a message to Musa'ad, but Saad cannot do anything. So the minister was sent to Musa'ad the second day and gave him the sword. And he said, I have a commandment for you. He said, yes, what is it? And he thought it's to stand by the door. He said, no. Your job is to find your brother Saad and chop his head off. Those are the rulings of the king, because he betrayed a very sacred line. Musa'ad looked at the minister and said, do you know why my brother stepped into the room? He says, no, but he is not supposed to under any means enter that room, and he did. He said, well, let's give him a chance to defend himself. He said, there's nothing called a chance. The rule is you as a guard are not supposed to step in, and he stepped in, so we have to cut his neck off. He said, no, I am not cutting his neck off until I find out why did he step into the room. And so the minister grabbed Musa'ad and took him to the king and said, my king, we need to kill both of your kids. Saad and Musa'ad, they're not qualified to be nothing. He said, why? He said, as for Saad, he was told not to cross the line, and he crossed it, which is the biggest betrayal. He said, that I understand. Yes, he's supposed to be killed. What about Musa'ad? Musa'ad, what did you do? He said, my father, king, and honorable minister, I don't want you, my father, to be like the prince and the eagle. He said, what's the prince and the eagle? He said, well, let me tell you about the prince and the eagle. There was a prince that was traveling. And again, when we talk about eagles, especially if you lived in the Middle East, you'll know what an eagle is. You're talking about eagles worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, this is something that's beyond luxury. I mean, 50,000, 80,000, 100. It's more expensive than a Rolls Royce or a Bentley. I mean, those eagles are a big deal. So this prince had this luxurious, lavish eagle, and they will go hunting with the eagle, and the eagle is like a friend to them. It's like a family member, because they grow them and train them for years, and it's like one of their family members. And so this prince goes, with his people on a trip, a hunting trip. And then he goes by the side of a well. I mean, there's some like a little spring of water. And by the spring, he wants to drink some water. So he puts, the glass or whatever into the spring and starts to drink. And the eagle comes from far away. Something crazy happened to the eagle. The eagle just comes from far away and drops the water and even cuts his hand a little bit because of the claws and everything else. And the prince gets very upset. Why is he attacking? What the heck is wrong with this eagle? And again, he takes it and he goes to the spring and he tries to pour and take a glass of water. And the moment he wants to drink it, the eagle again basically lost his mind and comes and attacks him and drops the glass altogether. And so he looks at his minister and says, what is wrong with this eagle? I mean, it's attacking me and I was cutting me. I think it's lost his mind. We need to, cage it or kill it or something. If he does it again, I'm going to kill him. And so the third time he goes to put the glass and drink some water. And just as he's bringing it to drink it, the eagle just attacks it and cuts his. Immediately that prince says to the minister, just go ahead and chop its head off, kill it. And sure enough, in less than a second, they killed it. The minister said, my prince, I knew you killed it, but I think you made a mistake. He said, what is the mistake? He says, I know that eagle is loyal and is like a family to you. Can you follow me? He said, let me follow you. And they wanted to see where this spring came from. And they walked, maybe about 30 or 40 feet. And what did they notice? Where the spring was coming from, there was dead, like an anaconda, a very large snake that died. And the way that it was cut, how it bloats and when it dies, it becomes so big. And all the poison from the mouth of that anaconda or that big snake was coming into the water. And so that eagle, out of love for the prince, knew that if he drank that water, it was poisonous and it was going to kill him. And so actually the eagle was trying to protect the life of that prince. And then the prince just started to cry and just regretted what he did. So now the two brothers, Sa'ad and Musa'ad says, my king, ask Sa'ad why he did what he did. I don't know what it is. If he has a good explanation, I don't want you to regret it like that prince regretted killing his eagle. But if he doesn't have explanation, here's my sword and I will chop his head off right now. So the king looked at him and said, Sa'ad, you're supposed to be guarding me and it's against the rule to cross that line. Why did you cross it? He said, my father, as I was guarding the door, I saw a snake snuggling and walking into your room and I didn't know what to do. Do I stand by my honor and guard the door, knowing that that snake is going to go to your quarters and bite you and maybe poison you and kill you? Or do I break and even sacrifice my own life by defending you, my father? He said, and I knew your life, my king and my father, is more honorable than mine. And I put you first. So I chased that snake and I chopped its head off and I threw it on the side of the room. So immediately the king said, come with me, and went to the room and said, where is it? He said, under there. And they looked and they found there was a snake with its head cut off. What's the moral of the story? The moral of the story is never rush to decisions. Never rush to judgment. Just because someone says something that you don't like doesn't mean that they hate you. Just because someone hires their voice when they speak to you doesn't mean that they hate you. Just because someone speaks so nice and soft and gentle to you at work or doesn't mean that they love you. Don't rush to conclusions. Don't rush to judge people. Don't judge a book by its cover. Take the time to investigate, to get to know for yourself, to get to know the truth. A lot of you will see through life, and it's so disturbing to me that people use one word to describe a community or a group of people or a religious group or a political group. This political group, they're all trash. They believe in this. Millions of people, just because I disagree with one thing that one person said, they're all trash. Or a religious school of thought where people are worshiping and praying and whatever, just because they say something that I did not understand correctly, they are terrible people. Or just because someone might have said something that doesn't rub me the right way or rub me the wrong way or something, just, they're bad people. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِذَا جَاءَكُمْ فَاسِقٌ بِنَبَأٍ فَتَبَيَّنُوا. If somebody comes to you, generally speaking, or a certain category of people come to you with something, with news, with information, no, 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 no. Take the time to investigate it. So what? فتصيب قوما بجهالة فتصبح على ما فعلتم نادمين. Because maybe someone comes and says, those people are bad, or this community is bad, or this group of people is bad, and then you make the decision, I will never do this, and we will never do this, and da da da. And then you find out later that they actually loved you more than anything else, and that this person betrayed your trust, and you regret it for the rest of your life. How many friendships have we lost? How many businesses have we lost? How many partnerships? How many marriages? So many loving situations that were destroyed? Why? Because we did not take a moment or a minute or some time to find the facts for ourselves. So my brothers and sisters, the moral of the story is, people might do things that we don't like, or do it in a way that we don't like, but take the time to find out why they're doing it before you make any judgments. Because maybe that person that speaks in a loud voice or said something that you don't like or don't appreciate is the person that loves you the most and did it because they love you so much. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and bless me for the rest of it.